Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today, we're diving deep, really deep, into one of the most surprisingly fascinating treasures sitting quietly in the world of American numismatics, the 1974 United States half dollar, especially those with mint marks and certain rare features that can turn an ordinary-looking 50-cent piece into a true powerhouse of collectible value. Most people might glance at a 1974 Kennedy half dollar and assume it's just pocket change, something that jingled in someone's coat decades ago and eventually made its way into a jar or a drawer. But as you'll discover in this long, story-rich exploration, not every 1974 half dollar is created equal. Some of them carry mysteries, quirks, and mint-born anomalies that push their worth far beyond face value. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an in-depth journey into the history, design, minting, varieties, and market values of these coins. Whether you're a coin collector, an investor, or simply someone who loves learning about hidden treasures, this script has something special just for you. The story behind the 1974 half dollar. To understand the significance of the 1974 Kennedy half dollar, we have to travel back to the coin's origin in 1964. After the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy, the U.S. Mint rushed to create a coin that would serve as a national memorial. The half-dollar denomination was selected almost instantly, replacing the old Franklin design. By 1974, 10 years after its introduction, the Kennedy half-dollar was still circulating, though not nearly as widely as intended. Because silver had been removed from the composition after 1970, coins struck in 1974 were made of copper-nickel clad. Yet despite lacking silver, certain 1974 halves would become legendary, not because of their metal, but because of extremely rare mint errors, condition levels, and mint-specific traits that collectors obsess over. Philadelphia, for coins with no mint mark. Denver, marked with a small d. San Francisco, known for its brilliant proofs with the S mark. Each mint contributed something unique to the year's production run. Philadelphia and Denver handled circulation strikes, meaning the coins were meant to be spent, carried, dropped into vending machines, and tossed into change drawers. San Francisco, on the other hand, crafted mirror-polished proofs for collectors, packaged in elegant government-sealed sets. While the average 1974 half dollar is common, rarity appears when you look closer, much closer, at the details that only seasoned collectors notice. The famous 1974 double die DVRETY. If there's a superstar among all 1974 half dollars, it's the elusive double die obverse from the Denver Mint. This variety shows detectable doubling on the inscription, such as "In God We Trust," and occasionally on Kennedy's profile. This doubling occurred when the working die received a misaligned second impression during production, creating a subtle, but unmistakable, shadowed effect on the lettering. These coins are extremely sought after, and the higher their grade, the more explosive their value. Collectors spend years searching rolls and bulk lots trying to uncover one of these hidden gems. Stories circulate of lucky finds discovered in estate boxes, inherited collections, bank rolls, and even yard sale junk jars. Every now and then, a sharply preserved specimen appears at auction and ignites a bidding war. Y condition is everything. Numismatics rewards the sharpest eyes and the cleanest coins. A 1974 half dollar in worn condition is just a half dollar. But one preserved with crisp luster, untouched surfaces, and no visible wear can fetch extraordinary prices. Grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins from the circulated range all the way up to the elite mint state 70. A difference of even one grade point can dramatically shift a coin's market value. Coins fresh from mint sets or those stored carefully in airtight holders for 50 years have the best chance of achieving those top-tier grades. Deep cameo proofs, with frosted devices and mirror-like fields, often look like miniature sculptures and command even higher interest from collectors. Secret survivors of history. It's easy to forget that every coin has a story. Imagine the world in 1974. America was processing the end of the Vietnam War, grappling with political upheaval, and adjusting to a new economic landscape. Through it all, the half dollar remained a quiet symbol of change, literal and metaphorical. Though the denomination wasn't heavily used in daily commerce anymore, the U.S. Mint continued to produce millions of them for tradition, for collectors, and for the small pockets of the nation that still relied on them. Many of these coins sat uncirculated in storage, preserved by accident. Others passed through countless hands before being scooped up by attentive hobbyists who recognized their potential. These survivors, coins that somehow remained crisp, bright, and unscathed, are the ones that today can command remarkable premiums. The market today. What makes them valuable? When collectors look at the 1974 half-dollar market, they consider several key factors. 1. Rarity of variety. The double die obverse from Denver sits at the top of the rarity scale. Not all double dies are dramatic, but even subtle ones can fetch commanding prices when authenticated. Point 2. Condition and grading. Mint state and proof coins dominate the value charts. Coins with striking brilliance, zero wear, and strong eye appeal are favorites. Point 3. Historical significance. Even though 1974 wasn't a silver year, collectors cherish the Kennedy half-dollar series because of its political and cultural importance. Point 4. Auction demand. When a highly graded, rare variety appears at a major auction house, bidding can climb rapidly. Collectors often see these coins not just as collectibles, but as small pieces of American history. How to identify valuable 1974 half-dollars? For viewers who want to check their own collections, here's what to look for. Examine the date under magnification. Inspect the lettering around the rim. Look closely at "In God We Trust" and "Liberty for Doubling." Check the mint mark location and clarity. Evaluate rim sharpness, luster, and presence of scratches. Even if you don't find the rare double die, high-grade examples can still be surprisingly valuable. Some collectors store uncirculated rolls, and it's always worth taking a second look, especially under proper lighting. Why collectors love these coins? Collecting isn't just about money. It's about discovering stories, preserving history, and feeling connected to the past. The 1974 half-dollar is a perfect blend of mystery, artistry, and nostalgia. Some collectors specialize exclusively in the Kennedy series, chasing down varieties, proofs, errors, and top-graded specimens. Others simply enjoy the thrill of finding something unexpected in an old coin jar. And for those lucky enough to find one of the rare high-grade double die examples, it feels like uncovering treasure that was hidden in plain sight for half a century. The coin that stunned the market. Every collector remembers the moment when a high-grade 1974 D double die obverse hit the auction block and soared far beyond expectations. The final hammer price stunned onlookers, securing its place among the most valuable modern-clad half-dollars ever sold. This moment cemented the 1974 variety as a true modern-day legend, proof that even in an era without silver, a coin can still capture the imagination of the entire numismatic world. We're diving into one such story, a story centered around the 1980 D Mint Mark Kennedy half-dollar. While most people only see it as pocket change, collectors around the world know better. They understand that even a modern half-dollar, minted by the millions, can hold secrets, oddities, and hidden fortunes. And today, we're going to unravel why certain examples of this coin can be worth far more than 50 cents. Picture this. It's the early 1980s in the United States. Inflation is shifting the economy, technology is rapidly evolving, and the country is moving out of a turbulent decade. At the Denver Mint, where the D Mint mark comes from, machines are striking millions of Kennedy half-dollars with the bold portrait of John F. Kennedy, a design that had only been introduced in 1964. For the average American, these coins are ordinary. They appear at banks, in circulation, occasionally in cash registers, and often in coin rolls. Yet what most people never realize is that for coin collectors, known as numismatists, no coin is too common to examine. Even the most ordinary-looking half-dollar might contain an error, a rare strike, or a high-quality finish that the general public overlooks. And that difference can mean hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars in value. To understand why this particular coin has become fascinating to collectors, we need to look at how coins are made. When a mint is producing millions of pieces, errors inevitably happen. Some are subtle, such as small die cracks or weaknesses in the details. Others are dramatic, off-center strikes, double dies, clips, misaligned dies, and planchet mistakes. These errors transform an everyday coin into a prize. The 1980 D. Kennedy half-dollar is especially known among collectors for certain high-grade examples and for a handful of breathtaking mint errors that can push its value far beyond what anyone expects. Now, let's imagine holding this coin in your hand. On the obverse, Kennedy's profile appears with striking realism, the curve of the jawline, the sweep of the hair, the confident gaze. On the reverse, the majestic presidential seal spreads proudly, the eagle with its shield, olive branch, arrows, and rays of light. It's a design rich with American symbolism. For collectors, however, the beauty is only one part of the story. The true excitement lies in the details, like the sharpness of the strike, the quality of the surfaces, the presence or absence of natural marks, and the originality of the luster that swirls under the light. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of half-dollars in 1980. So naturally, the first question many people ask is, how can one be valuable? The secret lies in condition. A coin that has been tossed in pockets, dropped on floors, scraped in glove compartments, and jingled against other coins might be fascinating, but it won't be valuable. Condition is everything. A perfectly preserved coin, one that never entered circulation, never touched careless hands, never rubbed against another coin, is what collectors dream of. These top-quality coins, often found in original mint sets or carefully stored collections, can bring serious money, but beyond condition, there are the spectacular error coins. Imagine a coin struck off-center so dramatically that part of the design is missing. Imagine a double die obverse where Kennedy's features appear doubled, almost ghost-like. Imagine a planchet error where the coin was struck on a wrong metal blank. These are not normal half-dollars. They are accidents, beautiful, rare, and valuable accidents created by the minting machinery itself. And when one of these errors is discovered, the collector world takes notice. Over the years, certain 1980 D. Kennedy half-dollars with remarkable errors have stunned collectors by reaching unbelievable prices. But what about the average person? Can someone find one of these valuable pieces in pocket change? Surprisingly, yes. Half-dollars are not as commonly used today as they were decades ago, which means many end up stored away in jars, boxes, or forgotten drawers. When people eventually roll them up or cash them in, rare pieces sometimes reappear. That's why hunting through half-dollar rolls is still a popular hobby. Treasure hides in the most unexpected places. Let's take a moment to talk about grading. Professional coin grading companies like PCGS and NGC use a numerical scale to evaluate a coin's quality. A grade near the top of the scale, say MS 66, MS 67, or even MS 68, can cause the value to skyrocket. Some 1980 D half-dollars in absurdly high grades have sold for eye-opening prices simply because they are almost flawless. With so many millions minted, only a handful survive in near-perfect condition, and collectors compete fiercely to own the best examples. Now, think about the thrill of stumbling on one of these coins. You might be sifting through your old change, not expecting anything special. You might be searching coin rolls from the bank, examining each half-dollar one by one. Suddenly, you notice something odd. The strike seems different, the details sharper, the surfaces cleaner. Maybe there's an error you've never seen before. That rush of excitement, that moment when you realize you might be holding something rare, is what makes coin collecting so addictive. Every coin is a mystery waiting to be solved. Another fascinating aspect of the 1980 D. Kennedy half-dollar is its place in American history. The 1980s were a turning point in culture, economics, and politics. Technology was evolving quickly, music and fashion were changing dramatically, and the United States was stepping into a new era. Coins from this decade capture a snapshot of that time period. They are pieces of American memory, not just metal but living artifacts of the nation's story. Collectors also appreciate the Kennedy half-dollar because of the emotional connection to John F. Kennedy himself. His life, legacy, and enduring symbolism add an extra layer of meaning to every coin bearing his image. The 1980 D. Mint Mark half-dollar is no exception. Whether it's a common circulated example or a pristine rare error, each coin carries a bit of American spirit. What makes the highest value examples so exciting is not just their price but the journey they represent. A rare error coin escaping the mint, traveling through countless hands, surviving for decades without damage, it's almost miraculous. And when such a coin appears at auction, collectors know they're not just bidding on metal. They're bidding on history, rarity, and the thrill of owning something almost no one else will ever possess. As the years pass, interest in modern coinage continues to grow. People are beginning to realize that the coins from the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s are entering a new phase of collectability. They are no longer just modern coins, they're vintage. And as older generations pass down their collections, younger collectors are stepping in with fresh enthusiasm. This shift has caused certain coins, especially high-grade or error examples, to surge in value. Now, here's where things get truly astonishing. There have been documented examples of 1980 D. Kennedy half-dollars with exceptional errors or elite grades that reached enormous values when collectors competed to acquire them. These aren't ordinary prices you'd expect for modern half-dollars. These are the kinds of prices that transform a simple piece of pocket change into a cherished treasure. And among the most stunning of these prices is one extraordinary recorded value that shocked the collecting community. Today, we're stepping into the world of American coinage to explore a piece that many people overlook, yet carries a fascinating story and surprising collector attention, the 1997 D. Mint Mark United States half-dollar. At first glance, most people see this coin and think, oh, it's just a Kennedy half-dollar, nothing special. And they're not wrong, at least not completely. The Kennedy half-dollar was introduced in 1964, right after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. It wasn't just another coin design change, it was a national tribute. People hoarded them instantly, and even decades later, the coin continues to hold an emotional weight beyond its face value. But when we zoom in closer to the 1997 D half-dollar, especially those preserved in extraordinary condition, something unexpected begins to unfold. Imagine the year 1997. The world is buzzing with the dawn of the digital age, DVD players are hitting the market, the internet is beginning its rise, kids are glued to early 3D video games, and America is riding the wave of late 90s optimism. Economic confidence is high, technology is exploding, and the US Mint continues its quieter, steady work in the background, striking millions of coins, including the half-dollar, even though public circulation demand for half-dollars had already been fading. Very few people were actually using them in everyday transactions anymore. This meant that most of the half-dollars struck during the late 1990s had a strange destiny. They were minted, packaged, and stored rather than being handed from cashier to customer. Now, that brings us to the Denver Mint, the D. Mint Mark, the facility responsible for producing the 1997 D half-dollar. Denver has a long history of precision minting, and in 1997 it produced millions of these coins. But quantity alone doesn't tell the full story. Most of these coins went straight into bags and rolls, eventually sold as uncirculated sets or kept in storage. Somewhere inside that massive wave of minted pieces, a tiny fraction emerged nearly flawless, struck perfectly, with razor-sharp details, gleaming luster, and surfaces untouched by scratches or bag marks. These are the coins that collectors dream about. Picture one of these pristine half-dollars under a magnifying lamp today. You can see the fine, crisp hairlines on Kennedy's portrait, the light that glides across its smooth fields, the bold strike of the eagle on the reverse, the powerful shield still shining bright. That's the kind of quality that separates ordinary from extraordinary. To a collector, perfection is everything. Just like in art, antiques, or sports memorabilia, condition determines desirability, and desirability shapes price. But before we talk about value, let's continue exploring why this specific date has gradually earned attention. The late 90s Kennedy half-dollars often flew under the radar simply because they weren't widely circulated. When a coin doesn't circulate, it doesn't get the chance to wear down, but it also doesn't get the widespread recognition that earlier coins enjoy. For years, these coins sat quietly in drawers, mint sets, or forgotten bags. They weren't rare, but they weren't common in pocket change either. It's almost like they existed in limbo, waiting for someone to notice them. Fast forward to today. Collectors now look back across decades of Kennedy half-dollar production and begin identifying patterns. Certain years had better strikes, others had lower mintages, and some had exceptional surviving examples. The 1997 D half-dollar is one of those sleeper coins that slowly gained appreciation not because of low mintage, but because pristine, top-graded examples ended up being more elusive than expected. All it takes is one auction, one unexpected sale result, one record-setting moment to shift collector awareness. And from that point onward, people see the coin differently, not as everyday pocket change, but as a potential treasure. That's where the story becomes even more compelling. Many families who bought U.S. Mint uncirculated sets in the 1990s never opened them. They sit sealed in envelopes or boxes, untouched. A coin like the 1997 D half-dollar could be sitting right now in a dusty drawer or an old shoebox, holding a value its owner never imagined. The difference between a regular uncirculated coin and a high-grade example can be dramatic. Grading, the process of evaluating a coin's condition, plays a massive role here. Whether a coin earns a grade in the early 60s, the mid-60s, or touches the prized perfection of 67 or higher can transform it from a simple collectible into something far more desirable. Collectors know that reaching those top-tier grades isn't easy. The coin must remain virtually untouched from the moment it left the press. No fingerprints. No tiny marks from other coins rattling against it. No dulling of shine. No faint scratch lines visible under magnification. It must look almost frozen in time, as if the mint operator just picked it up with cotton gloves seconds ago. That's what makes high-grade examples of the 1997 D half-dollar so intriguing. Although millions exist, only a handful reach that upper echelon of beauty. Rarity does not only mean fewer coins minted, sometimes rarity comes from condition, survival, and perfection. Now imagine a collector browsing through a coin show, their trained eye scanning cases, trays and displays. Suddenly, a 1997 D half-dollar glimmers from behind a glass panel, bright, crisp, and startlingly well preserved. The collector knows instantly that this is not merely a half-dollar, it is an opportunity. In the world of coin collecting, moments like that create excitement, speculation and sometimes intense bidding battles. That excitement trickles into the larger market, leading to discussions, articles, and collector chatter. And chatter fuels curiosity. This growing interest makes the 1997 D half-dollar even more fascinating today. Many people who casually look through their old coin collections might not realize they're holding a piece that could have value beyond 50 cents. For a viewer watching this video right now, perhaps you have some half-dollars tucked away since childhood, or maybe you inherited a small coin box from a family member. Inside those sets, hidden among nickels and quarters, there might be a gleaming 1997 D half-dollar waiting for discovery. The story of this coin isn't just about money, it's about exploration. Coins serve as miniature historical artifacts that allow us to connect with a specific moment in American history. The year 1997 carries its own cultural energy, and the Kennedy half-dollar carries a legacy of remembrance, patriotism and respect. When these two aspects combine, the time period and the tribute to a beloved president, the coin becomes more than a small disc of copper nickel. It becomes a story you can hold. As we draw closer to the heart of this video, let's step into the imagination. Visualize the Denver Mint machinery in 1997, the thunderous pounding of coin presses striking planchets with immense force, thousands of coins pouring into large bins, workers performing quality checks, the rhythmic clamor echoing through the facility. Among that sea of newly struck coins, only a few emerged perfectly formed and perfectly preserved. Those are the coins that now catch collector attention. Their survival in ideal condition is what makes them stand out. When collectors chase after these gems, they're often competing over something deeper than price. They're seeking a connection to history, a perfect example of a moment frozen in metal. The thrill of knowing that out of millions of coins, the one you hold is among the handful at the highest level of excellence, that feeling is what drives passion, hobby, and lifelong dedication. And now we arrive at the part you've been waiting for, the moment when all these elements, history, condition, rarity and collector excitement, come together. While the typical 1997 D half-dollar is worth modest amounts depending on condition, the extraordinary examples, the nearly flawless survivors that achieve the highest grade standards, are the ones that make headlines and create buzz in the coin world. These exceptional pieces have been known to reach the impressive value